A few months ago, I decided to escape the city. I thought a week in the Appalachian woods would be a perfect break. I'm 35 now and a freelance photographer. I wanted to capture nature's beauty, maybe get some good shots for my portfolio. I set up my tent and made a fire. The air felt damp and cold. Everything was quiet, too quiet. I felt a weird sense of relief, but something nagged at me. As I sat by the fire, feeding it with twigs, I heard rustling. At first, I thought it was just the wind. I shrugged it off, but my skin prickled. I decided to crawl into my tent as darkness fell over everything. That's when I first heard it. It wasn't loud, just a subtle sound, like something small moving. I felt my heart start to race. I told myself it was a deer or something harmless. But then, I heard whispers. My breath caught in my throat. I froze. The sounds outside my tent changed. They grew more unsettling. I thought I saw a shadow slip by, but I couldn't be sure. The cold crept in, and I huddled deeper into my sleeping bag. I must have fallen asleep at some point, but I can't remember. The night felt endless. I heard the whispers again, fading in and out. The next morning, I decided to explore. I wanted to forget the unease from the night before. I took my camera and snapped photos along the way. But the woods felt different. The trees towered over me like giants. I kept feeling watched. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw something move behind a tree. It was too quick to make sense of, but something was off. As I walked, I found strange drawings on the trees. They looked like crude faces with unsettling smiles. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I'd heard stories about people living off the grid here, but I didn't want to meet them. I was just trying to enjoy nature. That night, the rustling returned. This time it felt closer. I even heard laughter. But it was wild and strange, not like any laughter I knew. I stayed put in my tent. I didn't want to see what was out there. I held my breath, praying for morning. At some point, I jolted awake. The silence felt heavy. Then came the whispers again, closer this time. My heart raced wildly. Then, I heard a voice saying, "Let me in." I shot up, my eyes wide. I looked outside. The night air felt thick. That's when I saw a figure standing at the edge of the firelight. I couldn't make out any features. It asked me softly, "Why are you here?" I couldn't answer. I was terrified. All I wanted was to go home, away from this place that felt wrong. The figure just stood there, waiting. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen, stuck in my fear. The whispers faded, but the figure lingered in my mind. I never felt so alone. The sun was just peeking through the trees when I woke up, and relief washed over me. The figure from last night felt like a bad dream. I gathered myself and unzipped my tent, desperately needing fresh air. I took a deep breath to shake off the fear. But something was off. The forest was too quiet this morning, no birds, no rustling leaves. I grabbed my camera, hoping to distract myself with photographs. I stepped into the eerie stillness, but the woods felt like a maze. I walked in a random direction, not sure where I was headed. As I walked, I spotted more of those crude drawings. This time, they seemed different, worn, as if someone had tried to scratch them off. The faces had angry expressions, eyes carved deep into the bark. I looked back, half expecting to see someone behind me, but only trees loomed back. Then, I saw it. A small cabin hidden among the trees. It appeared old and neglected. My heart raced. This was where the stories came from, the tales of strange happenings and eerie sightings. I debated whether to approach, but something deep inside pulled me. I cautiously stepped closer, hoping to find evidence of human life, a sign of civilization. The door hung slightly open, creaking with the slightest push. I pushed it further and peered inside. The dark interior felt suffocating. Dust floated like tiny ghosts. A scattered mess of old furniture lay in disarray, as if someone had left in a hurry. It felt wrong. I took a quick photo but swallowed hard, and an uneasy feeling washed over me. I stepped inside, hoping to find something interesting. I picked up a broken chair, its wood splintered, and next to it was an old, rusty knife. I shivered as I grabbed the camera again, snapping shots of the disarray that surrounded me. That's when I noticed something on the wall, a series of marks, not just drawings, but tallies, counted in groups of 5. I stepped closer. My breath caught in my throat as I traced the lines with my finger. There were too many marks, hundreds, maybe thousands. What were they counting? I had to get out. I felt the urgency take over. I turned to leave and nearly tripped over something on the ground. It was a shoe. Just one, caked in mud. I hesitated, its presence sending a chill down my spine. I didn't want to consider why it was here. As I crouched to examine it, I heard a noise outside. A voice, a low, guttural sound carried through the air. It wasn't far. Panic set in. I stood quickly, my heart racing. I darted to the door, instinct driving me. Just as I stepped outside, I saw figures emerging from the trees. They moved stealthily, blending with the shadows. My breath quickened. Who were these people? Why were they in the woods? I turned to run but froze at the sight of them. They looked wild, clothing torn, faces smeared with dirt. And they were looking at me, eyes wide and curious. My heart thundered as I took a step back, but there was nowhere to go. The whispers returned, enveloping me. Why are you here? One of them called, their voice echoing in the silence. I could only stare, caught between fear and curiosity. And then, everything went dark. I awoke with a jolt, gasping in the shadows. My heart hammered in my chest. I was inside the cabin, but it felt different now, darker. The figures I had seen were gone. I scrambled to my feet, stumbling as a wave of disorientation washed over me. Had I fainted? I looked around, searching for my camera. It lay on the floor, a cracked lens reflecting the little light that managed to slip through the dirty windows. What had happened? My senses sharpened, and I moved to the door cautiously, every creak of the wood beneath me sending shivers down my spine. As I stepped outside, the forest felt alive again, buzzing with faint sounds that seemed to whisper warnings. I half expected to find the figures there, but the clearing was empty. The trees loomed tall in the brightening day, but even their presence felt foreboding. I glanced around, unsure where to go. The memory of the tallies on the wall haunted me. There was something more here, something I didn't understand. Why had they been watching me? What were they counting? Maybe the answers were buried deeper in the woods. I managed to find my footing, and a wave of determination pushed me forward. With the camera in hand, I tried to focus on capturing the essence of the forest, hoping it would explain what was happening. Each snap of the shutter felt like a heartbeat, a reminder I was still here, still alive. But as I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Glances through the trees made every shadow seem alive. I turned sharply at a sound behind me, but only the rustling leaves met my gaze. Was I losing my mind? Had I really seen those figures, or was it just a trick of the light? My heartbeat quickened again, and I forged deeper into the trees, adrenaline fueling my movements. That's when I stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a circle of stones, each one covered in the same strange carvings I had seen on the trees. They were familiar, the same angry faces obscured by time. Something about them drew me closer, tension wrapping around my chest. As I stepped into the circle, I felt an odd sensation sweep over me. It was like the air thickened, as if the forest held its breath. Instinctively, I raised my camera to take a photo. But just as I pressed the button, a sudden movement caught my eye. I turned quickly, and there they were, 4 figures emerging from the tree line, stepping into the clearing. They looked different now, less curious and more aggressive. Their eyes scanned me like I was prey. "Leave," one of them barked, a warning that sent a chill down my spine. Backing away, I instinctively raised my camera again, snapping photos, hoping to catch this moment, but my hands shook. It felt like I was caught between 2 worlds, unsure if I should flee or stay. They were closing in. I turned on my heel and ran. The sounds of their footsteps echoed behind me, quickening my pace. I had to find a way out or risk becoming just another mark in the woods. That's when I heard a growl, a deep rumble that surely wasn't human. I stumbled again, panic exploding in my chest as I dashed through the dense underbrush, barely aware of where I was going, only that something sinister was hunting me. Whatever it was would be closing in fast. The underbrush tangled around my legs, each step a new battle against the wilderness. The growl echoed again, closer this time, almost deafening. I ducked beneath a low-hanging branch, praying it didn't snatch me back. I could hear their voices behind me now, shouting to each other. "Catch her!" one yelled. My heart raced, and it felt like fire in my veins. I stumbled past trees, the peace of nature shattered by my fear. The figures were relentless, moving easily through the thick shadows. I could feel their eyes on me, assessing, calculating. I quickened my pace, desperate to find any escape. I needed to lose them. Then I spotted a narrow path cutting through the trees. It wasn't marked. Maybe it led away from them, or deeper into trouble. Either way, I had to take the chance. I veered left, my feet pounding against the soft earth. The sounds of my pursuers faded for a moment, my breath loud in my ears, when suddenly, I heard the growl again. This time, it was accompanied by a rustling in the bushes ahead. Dread twisted in my stomach. The presence behind me wasn't the only threat. I slowed to assess my surroundings, scanning each shadow. That's when I saw a flash of fur. My instinct screamed to run, but I was cornered. The growl erupted again, this time, full of anger. A large creature emerged from the underbrush, eyes glinting in the light. It looked like a wolf but far too large, a predator with a primal hunger in its gaze. I shifted backward, the stone circle flickering in my mind. The wild men, their anger, the deep growl, it all tied together. They had summoned this beast. It was their protector, guarding whatever secrets lay in these woods. My camera slipped from my fingers, hitting the ground with a dull thud. I had to think fast. Without realizing it, I stumbled back toward the clearing, where I felt that eerie sensation once more. It surrounded me now like a fog, thickening in the air. I turned, and the figures were suddenly there again, closing ranks around me, their faces obscured. "Get away!" I shouted, my voice cracking, but they didn't move. "I told you to leave," one of them said, more insistent now. Before I could respond, the growling beast lunged for me. Instinct took over. I darted to the side, narrowly avoiding its snap, and felt hands brush my shoulder. Was it them or was it the wolf? But just then, something changed. The figures dropped to their knees, and I heard them murmur in a language I couldn't understand. The creature halted mid-attack, its eyes switching from anger to curiosity. I was caught in a horrifying tableau, a pawn between 2 primal forces. A new realization washed over me like ice water. This wasn't just about escape. There was something crucial at play here, something that tied me to these woods and to them. I glanced back at my fallen camera, a flash of insight hitting me. I couldn't just run, I needed to understand what they wanted. I had to capture more than just images, I had to uncover the truth behind the mystery of this strange place. As the tension built, I prepared to gather my courage. I took a step forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But before I could speak, the world went silent, and everything went dark. I woke up gasping, the damp earth pressed against my cheek. Confusion swirled through my mind as I blinked against the sudden brightness. I was no longer in the clearing. Instead, I found myself in a dim, cramped space lined with rough-hewn wooden walls. It smelled of moss and smoke, the air thick with a sense of age and secrets. I pushed myself up, my heart still pounding from the adrenaline of the chase. The encounter felt distant, like a nightmare just beyond reach. I glanced around, trying to gather my bearings. The room was sparsely furnished, a few makeshift shelves holding jars of strange contents. A flickering lamp cast eerie shadows, reminding me of the darkness I had just escaped. Then I heard a rustle. I turned quickly, nearly knocking over a chair. There, in the corner, emerged one of the figures, his face finally illuminated in the soft light. He looked young, perhaps in his 20s, but his expression was hardened, almost feral. His hair was wild and unkempt, and his clothes were cobbled together from animal hides. "Where am I?" I croaked, my voice rasping from disuse. "You're safe, for now," he replied, his voice low and steady. "They were going to take you, but we found you first." "Who found me? Why?" Panic rose in my throat again as I glanced toward the door. It felt like a trap. "The beast," he said, looking unnerved. "It guards these woods. We keep it in check, but it wanted you. There's something about you." "Me?" I felt a chill down my spine. "What do you mean?" "We've been watching," he admitted, finally stepping closer. I could see the tension in his muscles, as if he were ready to bolt at any moment. "You stumbled onto something not meant for outsiders. You must understand this place to leave it." Before I could respond, the door swung open. Another figure entered, an older man with piercing eyes that seemed to dissect me. He nodded to the younger man. "You shouldn't have brought her here, Geron." "She was in danger," Geron insisted, crossing his arms defensively. "I had to act." The older man scoffed, turning his focus to me. "You know nothing of this land, do you? You have angered forces beyond your understanding." I shifted uneasily. All their talk of protectors and forces made my head spin. I just wanted to take pictures. I was out hiking. "Hiking," the older man mocked. "You are an intruder. This land holds secrets, and they demand respect." A sudden realization struck me. "You mean the legends, the stories of the woods? The wild men?" "You don't even know the half of it," Geron said, his frustration evident. "But you will, if you stay." Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted movement outside the small, grimy window. I looked closer and saw the wolf No, the creature perched on a ridge nearby. Its gaze locked on me, eyes like molten gold. A deep growl rumbled in its throat, sending shivers through my spine. I wanted to scream, but words failed me. Instead, all I could do was stare as a sense of inevitability washed over me. I had entered a world I did not understand, and it seemed unwilling to let me go. "Let her choose," the elder said, his voice smooth, laced with authority. "Should she accept the truth of our world, or shall the beast decide her fate?" The tension twisted like vines around my heart. I knew I was on a precipice, and everything hinged on the choice I was about to make. And there was no turning back. Panic surged as I felt the walls closing in. I looked from Geron to the older man, whose expression was a mix of disdain and concern. Outside, the creature's growl echoed in my mind like a warning bell. I had to make a decision, but how could I know what to choose? "Accept what?" I finally managed to ask. "What is the truth?" Geron stepped forward, urgency in his eyes. "The beast is more than just an animal. It's a guardian. This land, it's alive in ways you can't imagine. If you leave now, it will hunt you." "Why me?" I blurted out. "What makes me special?" The elder locked his gaze on mine. "You've seen too much. Either you choose to become part of this world or face the consequences of ignorance. A flash of fear shot through me. What do you mean by consequences? He sighed, and I could sense the weight of his words. It does not take kindly to outsiders. It won't stop until you're found. Geron cut in, trying to soften the looming threat. We can help you. But you need to trust us. You must learn the ways of both the land and the beast. I looked between them. They weren't lying. My heart raced at the thought of being hunted. Yet, something inside me screamed to escape. I felt trapped in a game I hadn't chosen to play. Then the door creaked open again. Another figure appeared, a woman this time, her hair long and tangled, her clothes in tatters. She moved with an unsettling grace, as if she belonged to the shadows. Her eyes swept over me before fixing on the elder. Is she the one? The woman asked, her voice rough like gravel. Yes, he replied curtly. And we're running out of time. The woman walked toward me, her presence both intimidating and magnetic. You have a choice now. But if you're going to stay, you need to know the truth about the beast. What truth? I demanded, feeling a surge of defiance. I was tired of ambiguity. It contains the spirits of the forest, she explained, her eyes unwavering. The creature isn't merely a beast, it's a protector of balance. If it seeks you, it senses something within you, a connection. A connection? My mind raced to process her words. I don't understand. The woods have chosen you, Geron said softly. You cannot ignore it. Before I could respond, a loud crash resonated outside, shaking the wooden walls of the cabin. My heart froze. The growling grew louder, more ferocious, echoing a threat. I exchanged fearful glances with Geron and the woman. Come! The elder shouted as the door flew open again, revealing chaos outside. Shadows danced against the light, and I could hear the bones of the forest creaking as if alive with hostility. Geron grabbed my hand. We need to move now. The beast is coming. Everything spiraled as the warning bells in my head blared. The choice was no longer about what I wanted. It was a matter of survival. I could feel the weight of the woods pressing down, urging me toward something I couldn't comprehend. Quick! The woman yelled, pulling me toward the door. That's when I saw it, a flash of gold fur, straight ahead, eyes blazing. The creature was closer now, and I felt a deep dread mix with a terrifying fascination. I was entangled in a fate that had just begun to unfold. The air thickened with tension as I realized I had no way to escape it now. We burst out of the cabin, the chill of the night wrapping around us like a shroud. The moonlight cut through the trees, illuminating a path, but the shadows danced menacingly as I ran. Geron led me, his grip tight, while the woman followed closely, each of us floating in a current of panic. The growling was louder now, more distinct, weaving through the underbrush like a sinister thread pulling at my sanity. I dared a glance back at the cabin. We couldn't return there. The beast was out there, somewhere. I could feel it. Where do we go? I shouted, trying to keep my voice steady over the cacophony of chaos around us. Follow me. Trust the woods. Geron yelled, cutting to the right. I followed blindly, my feet pounding against the forest floor. I stumbled on roots and rocks, but adrenaline kept me moving. The woman was beside me now, her expression fierce. The beast only hunts if it feels threatened. We have to stay calm. Calm? I wanted to laugh, but the urgency of the situation left no room for humor. I glanced at her, searching for reassurance, but all I saw was determination etched onto her face. We pushed through a cluster of trees, and then I saw it, a massive shadow moving between the trunks, glistening eyes locked on us. The creature was beautiful and terrifying. Its golden fur shimmered in the moonlight, muscles rippling beneath a skin that felt almost otherworldly. Keep moving. Geron urged, pulling me forward again. Each step felt heavy, like I was running in place. I could hear the creature closing in, its breath hot and primal. Just ahead, a thicket opened up to a small clearing. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. The creature bounded into the clearing, stopping just feet away. It stood there, towering and fierce, easily dwarfing Geron and the woman. I felt my heart racing anew. This was it. What do we do? I gasped, panic threatening to swallow me whole. Do not show fear, the woman commanded, stepping slightly ahead of us. It won't harm you if you don't provoke it. I could barely breathe. The growl resonated beneath its breath, a rumble that froze me in place. I fought the instinct to flee and focused on the creature's eyes. What I saw there was not just fury but also an ancient wisdom, something that spoke to the very essence of the forest itself. Why is it watching us? I asked, my voice trembling. It's assessing you, Geron replied. It's testing your spirit. It senses the connection. Before I could process his words, the creature took a step forward and, for a moment, our eyes met. My breath hitched, and the world around us faded. I felt a pull, like a whisper from the earth beneath me. It was both frightening and exhilarating. Then, suddenly, it lunged. I flinched, expecting to be torn apart. But the creature stopped inches from me, its snarling gaze softening. It tilted its head as if curious rather than hostile. Now! Geron shouted. We have to go. I snapped out of the trance, propelled by instinct. We sprinted past the creature, adrenaline fueling every ounce of strength in my body. I couldn't lose them, not now. But just as we reached the edge of the clearing, a shrill cry pierced the night. Another sound, far more human, blended into the chaos. My head whipped around. What was happening? Suddenly, I was filled with new dread. Something else was out there, lurking beyond the trees. The fear returned with full force, clawing at my insides. What was that? I gasped, but Geron had already turned, eyes wide with alarm. We're not alone. He yelled, but before he could explain further, the bushes rustled, and I braced myself for anything that might come next. The bushes quivered violently, and my heart raced as I prepared for whatever might emerge. I thought of the creature behind us, wondering if it would strike again. But as the branches parted, it wasn't the beast I feared. No, this was something somehow worse. A figure stumbled into the clearing, sweat-soaked hair clinging to a dirt-smudged face. His earthly clothes looked torn, patches made from what seemed like animal hide. The wildness in his eyes rivaled that of the golden creature. He was breathing heavily as if he had just run a marathon, but his gaze held a fierce intensity. Who are you? He shouted, tightening his grip on a makeshift spear. Just go. We need to leave. Geron replied, looking back at the creature that still loomed behind us. Panic seeped into his voice. The wild man shook his head, baring teeth that seemed sharpened by time and neglect. You don't belong here. You've disturbed the peace. What peace? I managed to ask, my voice cracking. My instincts screamed at me to run, but fleeing felt like a betrayal to the others. The woman stepped forward, unflinching. We mean no harm. We didn't ask to intrude. We were running from something. Her voice held a strength I lacked. The wild man's glare shifted then, momentarily distracted by the growl that echoed from the thicket. It was mixed with something less threatening and more curious. The beast had moved closer, drawn in by the rising tension. He stepped back, gaze flicking between us and the creature. You've drawn its attention, he hissed. They don't like trespassers. What happens if it finds us here? I asked, my entire body tense. The wild man looked back at Geron and the woman, sizing them up. It separates the weak from the strong. You need to show your worth. Prove you belong here or face its wrath. The weight of his words sunk in. I could tell that this wasn't just about survival, it was a test, a challenge thrown down like a gauntlet. I was overwhelmed by fear, but beneath that was steely resolve. I couldn't let this moment slip away. Wait, I said, regaining a bit of clarity. What do you mean by prove ourselves? Fight it, the wild man said simply. Fight the creature? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No. Not like that. You cannot fight its strength, he said, waving the spear dismissively. You must communicate through spirit, show it you are worthy. You are different. Suddenly, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, as if the universe was quietly reminding me how little control I had. The creature stepped back into a small wall of shadows, momentarily hidden from sight. I couldn't think of a plan. A part of me wanted to flee with Geron and the woman, but another part urged me to stay. Something inside me was attracted to the unknown. It's not just a beast, I said, more to myself than anyone else. It's a guardian, right? Trust it, and it may guide you, the woman said softly, her eyes bright with belief. In that moment, an instinct ignited deep within me. The fear ebbed just enough to make way for determination. Somewhere beyond the worry, I knew what I had to do. But then, another cry echoed through the trees, this one sharper and more insistent. And that S when I saw it. The shadows shifted again, and there, in the darkness beyond the thicket, another figure emerged, this one a shadowed silhouette that sent ice racing through my veins. It shouldn't have been there. Run! I shouted before I could think twice. But as I turned back, I realized we had no choice but to confront whatever loomed in the dark. The shadow stepped into the clearing, and my breath caught. It was larger, more menacing than I imagined. The creature from before seemed insignificant compared to this towering figure. It wore a mask made of twisted vines and leaves, a grotesque likeness of a face that seemed inescapable. I glanced at Geron and the woman, they were just as frozen in shock. Stand your ground! The wild man shouted, his voice breaking the silence. But what could we even do? My mind raced through the possibilities while panic clawed at me. The masked figure tilted its head, studying us with an intensity that felt like a physical weight. My heart thumped loudly in my chest. We need to show it we're not a threat, the woman murmured, stepping forward despite the danger. It's not here to attack, is it? I don't think so, Geron replied, his voice shaky. But that doesn't mean it won't if we don't move. I wanted to retreat, to hide behind the safety of the trees, but something in the wild man's fierce gaze held me in place. It felt like a challenge layered with expectation. Only strength will save you now, he urged. Focus. I closed my eyes, feeling the adrenaline pump through my veins. What did that even mean? Was I supposed to summon some inner strength, channel energy like the woman suggested? I took a deep breath, but all I could hear were those deep rumbling growls from the creature within the shadows. Then it happened. I felt a stirring within, something primal and instinctual that sparked memories of running carefree through childhood woods, feeling the rush of nature around me. The connection to the earth made me feel alive, and before I realized it was happening, I reached my arms out toward the masked figure. We mean no harm. I called out, my voice surprisingly steady. We're lost and scared. We just want to go home. The shadow tilted its head further, the makeshift mask shifting oddly, as if questioning me. I looked to Geron and the woman, they were still. Something slipped slightly from Geron's expression, a flicker of hope. Show it your strength, the wild man urged. Let it see your heart. I strained to project all that feeling into the clearing. I wasn't just pleading for mercy, I wanted to connect. We're willing to learn. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the air. The shadows shifted again, and the golden creature emerged, its brilliant eyes intense and alert. It stood side by side with the masked figure, creating a tableau that felt somehow harmonious. My instincts screamed that this was a moment of reckoning. We were being tested, but why? A swirl of thoughts gripped me. Deep down, I felt that each of us had a role to play. The responsibility weighed heavily upon me. But then the air pierced with an unexpected scream, a blood-curdling sound that shattered everything and echoed through the trees. I turned, my heart hammering, realizing we were not alone in the woods anymore. "Something else is coming," I whispered, dread pooling in my stomach. Caught between the guardians before us and unseen threats in the dark, I felt the tension mount. Whatever it was that lurked beyond the trees was our new reality, and our next move would hold the key to our survival. I stood there frozen, the weight of the moment heavy on my shoulders. The golden creature and the masked figure were a surreal juxtaposition, guardians of a world caught in conflict, their presence both protective and demanding. But I could feel it, a rumbling in the distance that was growing louder, approaching fast. The wild man's intense gaze remained on me. "You must calm it. Show it you are worthy of this land." His voice was urgent now, laced with an anxiety that thrummed in sync with the growls echoing through the trees. "How?" I managed to tremble, uncertainty flooding my mind. As the scream faded, it was replaced by frantic rustling, a shadow weaving through the underbrush, gaining speed, its approach threatening to split the air with chaos. The golden creature tensed beside the masked figure, prepared to defend. I felt the ground shake with the weight of what was coming. It wasn't just a test anymore, we were facing something beyond the woodland's depths, something that wanted to reclaim its domain. I clenched my fists, desperation igniting my sense of purpose. "Please!" I cried out to the guardians. "I am only a visitor. Help us." I took a step forward, vulnerability on display, not knowing if I was pleading for their protection or trying to show them I understood where I had stumbled. In that moment, the wood seemed to pause, holding its breath as if waiting to see what would unfold. The golden creature moved closer, its gaze fierce, yet there was an undercurrent of understanding. The masked figure kept its sharp focus on me. Then the dark shape broke through the tree, a creature, larger than I had ever imagined, its eyes aflame with primal rage. It was darker than the shadows and filled with an energy both terrifying and sorrowful. It was a manifestation of imbalance, unleashed against the guardians. "Help!" I shouted again, recognizing that whatever this was, it had a purpose. Tension knotted in the air like a noose. I felt the raw energy coursing through me, all my fears morphing into something akin to strength. The masked figure stepped forward, his presence casting a spell of calm, while the golden creature remained poised, waiting. It was a dance of power, a standoff across space and time. Suddenly, the ground trembled as the dark creature charged at us, snarling with an unrestrained fury. Instinct screamed at me, and I raised my hands, feeling my heart race. "Stop. We mean no harm." But my words felt small and frail against the weight of the chaos about to erupt. Then I felt it, a connection, a thread weaving through the air between us. It anchored me, allowing me to see the turmoil behind the dark creature's fury. It wasn't just a predator, it was a spirit of the forest, one cast out, seeking retribution against those who had intruded. "Be still!" I shouted, channeling everything I felt. "We belong to the earth. We seek peace." The wild man took a step back, eyes wide, while Geron and the woman joined me in my stance, their collective strength intertwining with mine. The creatures halted, caught in the tension of the moment. With every ounce of will I had, I projected my thoughts outward, asking for understanding, clarity, and a way back to balance. Energy pulsed through the air, and the dark creature paused, its snarls fading as it studied us. I could feel the other guardians shift slightly, perhaps feeling the wavering clarity of our intent. And then, against the backdrop of looming trees, the world went silent once more. For a split second, an understanding rippled through the air, binding me to both the dark and golden figures. They shifted slightly, recalibrating their energies. It was neither a fight nor a flight, it was a rebalancing of elemental forces. But then it cracked, a jaw snapping, a growl resonating through the clearing that shattered the moment's stillness. The dark creature lunged forward again, and before I could react, the Golden Guardian stepped in, an explosion of movement redirecting its fury away from us. In the ensuing chaos, I felt the thrum of nature, the pulse of this forgotten land, vibrating around us. Somehow, I sensed the darkness beginning to give way, the balance tipping towards harmony, pulling me along. Were they both guardians? Then, everything blurred. The force of their clash sent shockwaves, and it felt like I was about to be swept into a world unlike my own. I steadied myself, clutching my breath against the whirlwind of shadows and light enveloping me. And with a jolt, the woods shifted. I found myself not in the clearing but standing in my own home, everything normal again but still electric with memory. I blinked hard, hardly trusting my senses. The menacing growl faded, replaced by the soft chirping of birds heralding morning. My camera lay in my hands, untouched but covered in soot, the scratches telling stories of a battle fought. Had it all been a dream? Was the creature and the wild man real, or mere whispers of the woods I had wandered? I felt a knot in my stomach, a lingering unease sewn into the seams of my very being. I would never know for sure what truly happened. Silence engulfed me as I stared into the familiar surroundings. Was I still part of that unseen connection, drawn to help those guardians, or had I stepped away from their world entirely? The questions would linger as shadows danced at the edge of my vision, a constant reminder to never forget the wisdom of the wild. I moved forward cautiously, never looking back, carrying the secrets of the woods and the mystery of my escape in my heart, a photographer forever altered, lingering on the cusp of understanding and uncertainty.